Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is me, NomNomNom069, here returning with our C++ SDL Let's Make a Game Pong tutorial. And in this tutorial, we are doing collision between our balls and the paddle. Our ball, not balls, and our paddles. Alright, so what do we need to check to see if our, for collision? Our collision system, we're going to be using a collision system I used not to use, but I'm using it now, and we are just going to check to see. Here's two colliding cubes. We want to see if this two colliding rectangles. We want to see if rectangle X goes in rectangle Y, and the best way to do that is to see if one of X points goes in Y. So we need to check to see if point is in rect. So won't change, save changes to that. We need to create a new function. So we'll do bool point in rect int x int y SDL rect. So this function is pretty simple. If x is greater than rec.x and y is greater than rec.y and ampersand x is less than rec.x plus rec.width and y is less than rec.y plus rec.w height, we need to return true. And I'm going to go into paint and show that again. And if that's not true, we're going to return false. So let's go back into paint. So we have our first rectangle here, and we have our second rectangle here. And let's call this point X, Y. Okay? And this other rectangle. So this rectangle here, this X needs to be greater than this X. Needs to be greater than this X, right? But it needs to, and it also needs to be greater, and their Y needs to be greater than this Y, and that's the wrong symbol. It's supposed to be this way. Anyways, greater than. But the X, this X point needs to be less than this X plus the width plus this, so it needs to be within this, and that Y needs to be less than Y plus the height. That's where that function comes from. So how does this relate to collision? Well, we need to check to see if we're going to create a separate collision function. So we'll do bool check collision between SDL rect R1 SDL rect R2. Now, if point in rect r1.x, comma r1.y, comma r2, if r1.x and r1.y, if the point is in the rectangle, if that equals true, or point in rect, and I'm sorry, r1 dot x plus r1 dot width r1 dot y and then r2 equals true. And rather than write out all these lines, I'm just going to copy and paste, because we've got to check to see if the 4 points of the rectangle are within that other rectangle. So we don't need this one. Well, we do need that one for here. And we need r1 dot height. And then up here we need this to go away. And this to be dot height equals true. And then we're going to return true. And of course, else we're going to be false. So return false if that isn't true. So what this function did was it checked to see and this needs to be R2. Alright, so if R1.x, R1.y is within R2, or R1.x plus R1.w, and R1.y is within R2, or R1.x, R1.y plus R1.h is in R2, or R1.x plus R1.w, and R1.y plus R1.h is within R2. If any one of those is true, then there's been a collision. So we need to go back to paint, because collision's funky, and that's funky. And I know, I'm sorry, but if this point right here, up here in this corner is x comma y, this is x plus w comma y, this is y plus h comma x, and this is x plus h, not h, w, and yeah, y plus h. So these are the four corners, and all we did was calculate them in there. If any one of these corners is within this other rectangle, then the collision has occurred, and that's what we did with this function here. With the r1.x and r1.y, this one is within the rectangle, or x plus the width is within y, and the second one is within this rectangle. If that's true, a collision's occurred, which we see in the second one. And then in the third one, we check to see if the y plus h, the x comma y plus h, as we see in the third one, is within there. Then finally the fourth one. If any one of those is within the R2 rectangle, then the collision has occurred. Else, no collision has occurred. So, let's get this started. So, within our logic, we need to check a collision. So if check collision SDL rect R1, our R1 is going to be player paddle, and SDL rect 2 will be ball. If that is true, if a collision occurred, then we need the x velocity of the ball to equal a negative x velocity. Alright? And we also need to check a collision with the player, with the AI paddle, and the ball equals true. We need to reverse the x velocity of our ball. So this should work. We'll compile it and we'll run it, and it's geez, this game, why is it not firing off that collision? Oh, there it is. There it is. I don't know why it wasn't doing that. There we go. Boom. Something's funky with it. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Oh, we need to check if the ball comes within the AI paddle. We're doing this backwards. We need to put the ball as the first parameter, and then comes in contact with the player paddle and the AI paddle. The AI paddle might need to be first on it. Anyways, so now we come in. There's the collision that we wanted. If I can somehow get this to hit that. There it is. Nope, this won't work. So boom. Our collision is implemented. And there, see, bounces off the AI paddle, and it bounces off our paddle. So, this is what I wanted to implement this tutorial. And I can exit out this because we don't need to see it anymore. Let's come over and see what we did in this tutorial. So, first things first, we created a point in rect. We wanted to see if x or y was within this rect. And if it was, we returned true. If it wasn't, we return false. We needed this function to see if our check collision function, to see if any of the first rectangles passed were within the second rectangle. And if any one of those points were within the second rectangle, we return true. Else, we return false. So within our logic, we came down here for our new functions, and we check collision with the ball and the player paddle. And if that's true, we reverse the x velocity of our ball, and we check the collision with the ball and the AI paddle. And if that's true, we flip the x velocity as well. So thanks for watching, guys. That's the end of this tutorial segment. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys later.